Here at home, the former leader of the Rhode Island National Guard is tapping into his experience to weigh in on the conflict in Israel.
Lieutenant General Reginald Centracchio saying he has concerns over the president's plans to send advisors into the region. Erica Ritchie live in studio, and the general draws a good comparison to try to make his point, Erica.
Yeah, Pat, he really does, because he says he doesn't want to see history repeating itself, and he says he's seen this happen before in the Vietnam War. Take a listen.
That started off as the United States sending advisory personnel into the region. And all of a sudden it got more significant, needing more resources, and all of a sudden you had boots on the ground, resulting in 58,000 soldiers that lost their lives in Vietnam.
And Lieutenant General Reginald Centracchio says he does not want to see that progression happen once again. He's concerned about the U.S. getting involved in yet another conflict in the global economy. He points to our current commitment to send resources to Ukraine in its fight against Russia. He also flagged potential conflict between North and South Korea on the horizon, and then he points to our very own border crisis as well. General Centracchio is concerned that if too many resources and funding are deployed to international conflicts, our military won't be shored up to defend the homeland.
Our major concern should be our own integrity and our own safety within this country. And certainly we're concerned about those things that are happening outside our country, but our priorities and our resources should be geared toward protecting the United States, and only the United States.
And the general says that information sharing is key to protecting and defending. Starting next half hour, we're going to talk about how we here in Rhode Island are uniquely positioned to be able to do that. For now, live in studio, Erica Ritchie, 12 News.
So some now calling this conflict Israel's 9/11 because of the surprise nature of the attack.
We asked the former leader of the Rhode Island National Guard about what type of intelligence Israel might have had and how vital information is to preventing an attack like Hamas carried out.
Erica Ritchie live in studio now. And how did the general respond to that, Erica?
Well, like what happened here on September 11th, Lieutenant General Reginald Centracchio said Israel likely had intel suggesting that something was going to happen, but not quite enough information to know the unlikely way it was going to be carried out or when. That's why he says sharing as much information as possible as soon as it surfaces is critical. So the hub of where information is shared here in the U.S. is called a fusion center. There are 80 of them nationwide. General Centracchio helped bring one of them right here to Rhode Island back in 2005. It's staffed by 4 intelligence analysts, an intelligence officer from the Department of Homeland Security, and sworn members of the Rhode Island State Police. And they're not only talking with one another and with local law enforcement and agencies about potential threats in southern New England, they're sharing that information with the network of fusion centers, so we're not caught off guard like 9/11 20 years ago or like Israel now.
Some of the fusion centers that are operating across the country are sharing information now about what's happening in the mosques and synagogues and things that perhaps might be the subject of an attack. That's the kind of information that's shared in a fusion center. What do you see that's happening in your city? And is it applicable to Providence? Is it applicable to Boston?
And the general says technology is one of the things that he hopes the fusion centers will be paying close attention to and be talking about as we go forward. He suspects that if we were to enter a third world war, an attack might not come in the form of boots on the ground as we've seen in the past, but rather an attack on the technology that we become so reliant on, things like satellite dishes and electricity. That's the latest live in studio. Erica Ritchie, 12 News.